Think your engine can rev on forever? Think again. Today we'll cover the biggest mistakes and hidden failures that keep your engine stuck at low RPMs, and you'll want to stay for the last one because it is often overlooked but can leave you stranded without warning. Number 1. Faulty idle air control valve. This component manages the airflow into the engine whenever your foot is off the gas pedal. If it sticks closed, the engine starves for air and struggles to rev past idle. Common signs include rough starts, stalling, and RPMs locked at or just above 1000 no matter how hard you press the pedal. Carbon buildup, electrical faults, or worn-out components are the main culprits. Cleaning the valve sometimes restores proper airflow, but in many cases replacement is the only real fix. When left unchecked, this failure makes the car undrivable because the engine cannot adjust airflow as load changes. But air control is only half the equation. Without the next fact, your engine will hit a hard wall and refuse to climb in RPM. Number 2. Clogged fuel injectors. When injectors are clogged, they cannot deliver enough fuel for combustion, and the engine stalls out near idle. You will often feel hesitation, sputtering, or a total refusal to rev past 1000 RPMs. Dirty fuel, worn filters, or neglected maintenance usually cause the buildup that restricts flow. Cleaning injectors with proper fuel system cleaner can sometimes restore function, but heavy clogging often requires ultrasonic cleaning or full replacement. Without enough fuel, the ECU keeps the engine in survival mode, which is why RPMs stay capped. If fuel delivery looks fine, the next suspect is spark. An engine cannot climb in RPMs if ignition timing or spark output is failing. Number 3. Ignition system failure. A weak or inconsistent spark prevents combustion from keeping up with throttle demand. Bad spark plugs, failing ignition coils, or worn distributor components can all lock the engine at low RPMs. You may notice misfires, shaking, or the engine cutting out as soon as you try to rev higher. Modern engines rely on precise ignition timing, and if the ECU detects severe misfires, it limits RPMs to protect the engine. Replacing plugs and coils is often the first step, but diagnosing with an OBD2 scanner confirms if ignition is the real culprit. But even with good spark, an engine cannot rev without proper airflow. Our next problem will show you how even a simple airflow blockage can stop your engine from climbing beyond 1000 RPMs. Number 4. Blocked air filter or intake. A severely clogged air filter starves the engine of oxygen, leaving it unable to burn fuel efficiently. When airflow is choked, RPMs flatline around idle no matter how far you press the pedal. Symptoms include sluggish acceleration, black smoke, and sometimes the smell of unburnt fuel. Replacing the filter is one of the cheapest and fastest fixes, yet drivers often overlook it until the car refuses to rev. In extreme cases, animals or debris in the intake tract can also block airflow completely. The next issue will take us deeper into the exhaust side because what goes in has to come out, and a blocked exhaust can be just as crippling as a blocked intake. Number 5. Clogged catalytic converter. A catalytic converter that is clogged traps exhaust gases, creating extreme back pressure. The engine cannot push out burned fuel, so it cannot pull in fresh air, leaving RPMs stuck near idle. Common signs include loss of power, overheating under the car, and the rotten egg smell from unburned gases. Testing back pressure or checking exhaust temperature differences before and after the converter can confirm the problem. Once clogged, replacement is usually the only permanent solution, since cleaning rarely restores full flow. Now let's shift focus to electronics, because when the throttle position sensor fails, the ECU may refuse to let your engine rev past 1000 RPMs. Number 6. Bad throttle position sensor. The throttle position sensor tells the ECU how far the pedal is pressed. If it fails, the ECU may think the throttle is closed and lock the engine near idle. Symptoms include hesitation, sudden surging, or no response when pressing the gas. You can often spot TPS issues with an OBD2 scanner showing erratic or stuck readings. Sometimes a reset works, but more often the sensor needs replacement to restore proper throttle control. The next problem will show how faulty sensors beyond the throttle, like the MAF or MAP, can trick the ECU into shutting down higher RPMs. Number 7. Failed MAF or MAP sensor. Your mass airflow or manifold absolute pressure sensor measures how much air is entering the engine. If either fails, the ECU gets false data and sets the fuel mix incorrectly. The result is an engine that bogs down, stalls, or refuses to climb above 1000 1000 RPMs. Dirty sensors are common and can sometimes be restored with proper cleaning spray. If cleaning does not work, replacement is necessary because the ECU will stay in limp mode until accurate readings return. Our next cause will focus on fuel delivery because a weak or failing fuel pump can choke the engine right at idle and keep RPMs from climbing. Number 8. Weak fuel pump. A failing fuel pump cannot deliver enough pressure to keep up with engine demand. When pressure drops too low, the ECU cuts power and the engine struggles to climb past 1000 RPMs. Common signs include sputtering on acceleration, long cranking times, or sudden stalls. Testing fuel pressure with a gauge is the fastest way to confirm the problem. If pressure falls below spec, replacement is the only long-term solution, since weak pumps rarely recover once they start failing. The next issue will show how problems in the transmission or torque converter can also lock your RPMs, even if the engine itself is healthy. Number 9. Transmission or torque converter problems. Sometimes the engine itself is fine, but a locked transmission or failing torque converter holds RPMs down. If the converter seizes or the transmission control module enters fail-safe mode, the engine may feel like it is stuck at idle no matter how hard you press the gas. Clues include slipping gears, delayed engagement when shifting, or warning lights for the transmission system. Diagnosing requires both a scan tool and transmission pressure checks, but if confirmed, repairs are critical before further damage spreads. Our next cause will bring us back to the ECU because when the computer itself goes into limp mode, it will cap your RPMs around 1000 to protect the engine. Number 10. ECU in limp mode. When the ECU detects a severe fault, it can enter limp mode to protect the engine. In this state, RPMs are capped around 1000 to prevent damage while still allowing the car to move slowly. Causes range from critical sensor failures to overheating or transmission errors. Clearing limp mode requires fixing the underlying fault and then resetting the ECU. Simply restarting the car may clear it temporarily, but the issue will return until the root problem is resolved. We have covered the most common electronic and fuel issues, but the next set of problems will take us deeper into hidden mechanical faults that can cripple your RPMs. Number 11. Vacuum leaks. This lets unmetered air into the intake, throwing off the air-fuel mix. Severe leaks make the engine stumble, idle roughly, and stay capped near 1000 RPMs. Common sources are cracked hoses, loose intake gaskets, or broken fittings. Smoke testing is the best way to find hidden leaks. Until repaired, the ECU keeps fueling conservatively to protect the engine. Our next issue will shift to another sensor because a failed crankshaft position sensor can shut your revs down completely. Number 12. Crankshaft position sensor failure. The crankshaft sensor tells the ECU where the pistons are in the cycle. If it sends no signal or the wrong signal, the ECU cannot fire injectors or ignition at the right time. This often causes hard stalling, no starts, or RPMs locked near idle. Heat soak is a common killer of these sensors, and replacement is usually the only fix once they fail. The next problem will show how even your timing belt or chain can be the reason your engine never climbs over 1000 RPMs. Number 13. Slipped timing belt or chain. If your timing belt or chain jumps teeth, valve timing goes out of sync with piston movement. The engine may start, but it runs poorly and refuses to rev. Severe cases cause backfiring, shaking, and bent valves. Inspection of timing marks confirms the slip, and repair means retiming or full replacement. Our next issue will move to airflow because a stuck EGR valve can choke your engine and cap RPMs. Number 14. Stuck EGR valve. An exhaust gas recirculation valve that stays open floods the intake with exhaust when it should not. That robs oxygen, smothers combustion, and locks the engine around idle. Symptoms include rough idle, black smoke, and frequent stalling. Cleaning may help if carbon buildup is the cause, but replacement is common for valves that jam repeatedly. The next problem focuses on electronics, because a weak alternator can actually keep your car from revving properly. Number 15. Weak alternator. When the alternator cannot supply steady voltage, sensors and ignition coils starve for power. The ECU may hold RPMs low or trigger limp mode to avoid damaging electronics. Lights dimming with RPM changes is a key clue. Voltage testing across the battery and alternator quickly reveals the fault. Replacing or rebuilding the alternator is the fix. Our next cause hits the cooling system, because overheating can trigger safety limits that lock your engine near 1000 RPMs. Number 16. Overheating engine protection. Modern ECUs monitor cooling coolant and oil temps constantly. If readings climb too high, the ECU cuts power and limits RPMs to keep the engine alive. Drivers often mistake this for a fuel or ignition fault when it is actually thermal protection. Cooling system repairs and fresh coolant are essential before the ECU allows normal revving again. The next issue ties into dirty components, because a carbon-choked intake manifold can make your car feel like it has no throttle response. Number 17. Carbon buildup. An intake manifold, thick carbon deposits narrow airflow paths and disrupt fuel atomization. The engine struggles to breathe and can stall if asked to rev higher than idle. Direct injection engines are especially prone to this. Professional cleaning with walnut blasting or chemical treatment restores flow and engine response. Our next problem talks about the pedal itself, because a bad accelerator pedal sensor can freeze RPMs right at idle. Number 18. Accelerator pedal position sensor failure. Modern cars use electronic throttle pedals instead of cables. If the pedal sensor fails, the ECU does not see input, so the engine never revs beyond idle. Warning lights and throttle dead spots are common signs. Replacement is usually required since these sensors are not repairable. The next cause highlights how clogged fuel filters, often ignored in maintenance, can strangle your RPMs. Number 19. Clogged fuel filter. A clogged filter restricts flow between the tank and injectors, starving the engine under load. Symptoms include low power, stumbling, and refusal to rev past idle. Changing the fuel filter on schedule prevents this simple but damaging problem. And our final issue covers the most frustrating of them all, because a corrupted ECU software map can hold your engine back even when every part is healthy. Number 20. Corrupted ECU software. Sometimes the hardware is fine, but corrupted ECU software makes the engine behave as if a fault is present. The ECU may miscalculate fueling, miss fire sensors, or lock RPMs at idle. Updating or reflashing the ECU with factory software often solves the issue instantly. Ignoring it leaves you chasing false sensor errors and wasted repairs. Now you know 20 major reasons why your engine refuses to go past 1000 RPMs. The smartest move is not guessing, but diagnosing. Scan for codes, inspect the basics like filters and sensors, and follow the signs before throwing parts at the problem. Catching these issues early saves you from costly repairs and keeps your car safe on the road. Which of these causes have you seen firsthand? Drop it in the comments, because your story might help another driver solve their problem faster. And if this breakdown gave you the answers you needed, hit like, share it with a friend who is stuck at idle, and subscribe for more guides that keep your engine running stronger and longer.